So I'm excited to share that after 2 years of development, I finally released my first demo on Steam. I finally crossed that threshold into the life of a serious game developer to see what my game is truly made of. Hoping for the best, I braced for the worst. And you know what? It went nowhere. It's been over a month and I only have 9 wish lists. I'm thankful for those interested in my game, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that this was a bit heartbreaking. I'm going to rewind back to the start of the year. I came back from the Christmas break revived and eager to finish up the demo. I hit the ground running and finalized the rest of the art for the levels which I had previously blocked out. Various backgrounds and points of interest. I also added a few last-minute features like this fire pillar hazard and a second phase of the boss fight, and a new enemy. The more progress I made, the more ideas kept popping up in my mind, and I had to take those ideas, jot them down, and then put them on the shelf for later. I had set myself a goal to release the demo by May of 2022, so I was already a tad bit behind. I felt this pressure to finish it up for months before I completely burn out, and knowing myself, I would never release it. Just finish the demo and get it out there, is what I would often tell myself. I then aimed to bookend the experience with a couple of cutscenes, hopefully to tease the player with what they could expect in the game. First, I had to write up a script of what was going to be said, and I had to dive into the lore a bit to establish some characters and give the game a bit of a backstory. Once that was done, I made a storyboard by sketching out what I had envisioned in the script, and I laid out the art on a timeline with some music to get a good feel for it. Then I moved on to the full color illustrations. I may have illustrated more in 2 weeks than I had in the previous year. I'm a very harsh critic of my own art, but I had to push myself past that just to get it done. Maybe in the full game, I'll hire a professional artist to work on the cutscenes. Now that all the pieces were in place, it was time to test. And test, and test, and test. I must have played through this demo at least 20 times. I tried to break it every which way I could think. After playtesting so much, I would think to myself, I need to add another attack, or another puzzle, or a new set of enemies. The worst part was a growing sense of all these tasks that were overwhelming that I alone could never complete. I was so close to releasing this demo, but I felt like quitting all the time. My wife had to shake me out of that mindset several times, reminding me of what I had accomplished so far. She kept me on course, and she's just so amazing. Once I felt like I had cleared the demo of all the bugs, I asked her to test it. And wouldn't you know it, within 5 minutes, she found a game-breaking bug. It was so absurd that the moment was almost comedic. What she exposed was my Frankenstein save system. To be more specific, I used a built-in save system that came packaged with the Pixel Crusher's dialogue system. It seemed simple enough. You have a game object with the save system script attached, which will persist across all scenes. Then you attach the save scripts to any object in the scene that requires permanence. I attached the destroy savers to chests and animator savers to gates. I also created a game object as a checkpoint to save data as the player progresses, which would also activate this little animated bug here in the corner. So when my wife tested and hit a checkpoint and then died, the camera would reset to a position not where the player was located. Not only that, save chests and gates were not saving. This was driving me crazy. After hours of troubleshooting, turns out I have this game set up using Cinemachine. I had too many virtual cameras active at the same time when the player restarted. I don't know how to begin to explain this, but in a nutshell, it has everything to do with the frame boxes setup I have in this game. I mentioned this in a previous devlog, so to recap, I have set up my level with frame boxes so that only a specific section where the player is located in the level will be active. After I had sorted out which virtual camera needed to be active when the player restarts from a checkpoint, I had to figure out why the chests and gates were not also saving. Why wasn't it working for me? I scoured the Pixel Crusher forums, watched their videos over and over about their save system. I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out what was going on. After tossing the computer out the window and then rebuilding it, I finally figured it out. Again, it was the frame boxes. To put it simply, when I passed a checkpoint, the saver script on the object could not save because that specific object, like a gate or a chest, was hidden or deactivated because it was within that specific frame box. So the solution was to take every object that has a saver component and pull them out of each frame so that they will always stay active and enabled. I feel like over half my issues are a result of my own ignorance. I also had some friends test it, and I got some honest feedback, which was basically that my game is a bit too sterile. Not enough going on. Add some more hazards and whatnot. They all found some bugs, but they were minor fixes. But overall, they had a good experience, so I was confident and ready for release. My full-time job requires me to work out of town once a year, so I was rushing to release the demo before I had to leave. That being said, here's a tip if you haven't uploaded a game to Steam yet. Do not wait to the last minute to make your Steam page. There are quite a few graphics you need to create, which is not that bad, but the Steam's review and approval process is what takes the most time. Seriously, if you're thinking of releasing a game in the future and you haven't created a Steam page, do it now when you have the time. I was racing against the clock before I had to leave, waiting for approvals, but thankfully, I got it live. In the meantime, I put together an announcement trailer and a handful of screenshots for social media. I scheduled the posts and I updated my website. Finally, everything went live and I eagerly awaited the response. As I mentioned at the start, the launch was a dud. I had to ask myself, does my game not appeal to anyone? Was it just not being seen? Maybe I'm just a victim of an oversaturated market or undesired genre. I had been building a social media presence for about a year, which has seen slow but steady growth. So I knew some eyes would see it. I searched around for tips about getting your Steam page more attention and what to expect when you launch your demo. I came across an article that really hit me hard. It basically stated that the amount of wish lists upon announcing your game within 2 weeks could determine the likelihood of its success. Ranking in tiers, my game didn't even make the underperforming category. This just added to my already burned out state of mind. So I decided I had to walk away from the game for a while. I didn't want this to kill my desire to make games. I needed to take a step back and assess where I would go from here. Do I continue developing this game or move on to other projects? Or do I give up on the dream of making a living making games? I don't know how long I can keep working a full-time job and develop this game on the side. After 2 years, it takes its toll. I have to be realistic and prioritize my time. So like I said, I took a break. In the meantime, I went back to an older project called Wizard Battle. I had made it a few years back going through a great course by Blackthorn Prod, and I wanted to revisit it because I had some ideas that I wanted to work into the game. To go back and look at an old project helped me see how far I had come as a developer. Everything I added was so fun to work on, and I barely had to look up how to implement a feature, which encouraged me even more. This was really a refreshing experience, which brought me back to why I started game development. I really enjoy making games. Sometimes, when I have a choice to play a game or work on one, I choose the latter. This is one of my childhood dreams. If you want to go try Wizard Battle, the game is free, top-down shooter. It's great for a quick bit of chaotic fun. Just click the link down below. After taking a month off from Milo, I had already decided I would continue its development, even though it appears there's little interest at the moment. Whether anyone plays it or not, I'm taking the advice of other successful indie developers to just complete the game. Who knows? Maybe this game will get more attention over time. I mean, I think it's pretty fun to play. Or this could be for me just a stepping stone to an eventual successful game in the future. Whatever the case may be, I know that I love making games and I hope to find an audience who enjoys playing them. For that reason, I know I can't give that up. So the takeaway from my experience is that not every game idea will be a smashing success. It may take some time before your game gets noticed, or if it ever will. But if you love making games, then stick with it. You never know what may happen if you keep going. Maybe it's your third or fourth game that everyone's been waiting for. If game development is your dream, don't give it up. Keep going, you've got this.